in every charge or allegation, every denial of scriptural truth that I had when I was an atheist, when I studied it deeper, guess what I found? I found that actually there is no problem with the Bible. There is no problem with the Bible. When I was an atheist, I had a Bible published by atheists called the Skeptic's Annotated Bible. And it would say things like, look, error, contradiction in the Bible. Error, contradiction. This gospel says that there were 2 angels at the tomb. This other gospel says that there was just one. Error, contradiction. Then I looked deeper into it and I saw, well, no, it's not what it says. One of the gospels says there was 2 angels at the tomb of Jesus, and one of them spoke, and the other said that the disciples talked to an angel at the tomb. You see, that's not a contradiction. That's perfectly logically consistent. You see, the reason why people hate the Bible so much and want to discredit it, you ever wondered about that? Why is it that the Bible is at the same time the most popular book of all of history, the most loved, the most cherished, but it's also at the same time the most hated? Why is that? Why should the same book be both the most loved and the most hated book in human history? Well, that might indicate to you, if you're a thinking person, that there's something very peculiar about the Bible. Unlike your chemistry text, people don't get their panties in knots about the Vedas of Hinduism. People don't sit around and protest the Quran, right? They don't do that, but they do that with the Bible, right? They do that with the Bible. Why? Well, because it is God's collection of books. It is God's library. 66 books written over a 1,500-year span of time about events on 3 different continents by over 40 authors from all walks of life. Yes, some of them were goat herders! The Goat Herder's Guide to the Galaxy! Oh yeah, well David, he started his life as a sheep herder, not goats, and he rose to become king of Israel. His son Solomon, the wisest man, apart from Jesus Christ, who ever lived. You had Moses, who was educated and raised by the highest intellects in all of Egypt, the courts of Pharaoh. You have Peter and John, who were fishermen. You have Luke, who was both a physician and a doctor, a medical doctor. Sorry, a physician and a historian, I meant to say. You have Paul, who had the equivalent of 2 doctoral degrees, who was a lawyer. You see, the reason why people go around saying dumb things like I used to, the Bible's just some old book written by desert goat herders, is because they go into it with a bias that they don't like it, they don't believe it, they don't want to hear it out. Right? And so they perpetuate false narratives about it. But if you're an intellectually honest person, guys, you're required to be an intellectually honest person, to do your best to give an unbiased hearing to the most influential book ever written. Don't pass through these arches, wisdom, justice, moderation, as a graduate and say, I'm so educated, I'm so enlightened, when you haven't read the Bible. That's silly. That's silly. You're being intellectually dishonest, and in fact quite intellectually cowardly. Yes, but the Bible is centered on God's redemption of lost humanity. That's what it's about. People's like, the Bible's just written to give men more reinforce the patriarchy. It's just written to tell people who you can own as slaves. It's just written to tell people that you can beat your slaves. It's just written to tell women to stay barefoot naked in the kitchen, Pregnant, sorry. I guess you get pregnant by being naked. But, no, it's not why the Bible was written. The Bible was written, the grand narrative, the meta-narrative of all of Scripture is God's redemption of lost humanity. All of the themes of the Bible, every thread, Every yarn is woven into a tapestry about God's redemption of a lost humanity. You see, the religions of humankind are in diametrical opposition to what the gospel of Jesus Christ is. Human religions say, in order to ingratiate yourself to a higher power, God or karma or the universe, here's what you have to do. Do this, do that, try hard here, do this, don't do this. And maybe if you do good enough for long enough, then God or the universe or karma will look favorably upon you. That's not the message of the Bible. Now, many people misunderstand that to be Christianity. I've heard it said this way: the religions of man say do, do, do. Christianity says done. The work is done in Jesus Christ. The work that I cannot do, the righteousness that I cannot have, the righteousness that you do not have, can be credited to you, not through your works, but through the perfect work of Christ. That is the gospel. If you talk to these Jehovah's Witnesses over here and you ask them, will you live forever in paradise on earth? They'll say, I don't know. I hope so. Maybe. If I try real hard and do good enough for long enough. My friends, when Jesus Christ died on the cross, he cried out, Tetelestai, it is finished. And by the way, he died on a cross, not on a stake, not on a pole. He cried out, Tetelestai, it is finished, paid in full. And this is why Peter writes, he himself bore our sins in his body on the tree that we might die to sin and live unto God. By his stripes we are healed. That perfect work of redemption was wrought in full, paid in full, accomplished fully and completely by Jesus' perfect life. He lived the perfect life that you and I have not lived and cannot live. He died a sacrificial and substitutionary death on that cross. That's why he went to the cross for sinners. He didn't go to the cross for righteous people, because there aren't any. He went to the cross for sinners like you and me. He died in our place, and God raised him from the dead on the third day. The Apostle Paul, Romans 1 verse 4 says that Christ was declared with power, declared in power to be the Son of God through his resurrection from the dead. So Christianity has proof. What's different about the different religious claims? Well, ours has proof. God proved ours in a very specific way by raising Jesus physically from the dead. Fact of history. It's not a myth. It's not a fairy tale. It's not a legend. It's not once upon a time in the land of Nod. But God raised Jesus from the dead. He was declared in power to be the Son of God by his resurrection from the dead. See, Muhammad died, guys, and he stayed dead. Muhammad died, and he stayed dead. Buddha died. Siddhartha Gautama Buddha may have said some wise things. He may have said some wise things. I don't know. I've read some of them. But I can tell you this. Buddha never claimed to be the path himself. He claimed to teach a philosophy of life. He never claimed to be the way to be reconciled to a holy God. In fact, before Buddha died, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, he says, I've not discovered ultimate truth. I've not done that. He would have gone to Muhammad and said, Muhammad, are you the source of eternal, definite, transcendent truth? He would have said, no way. Go seek Allah. But Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way. He didn't say I'm teaching truth. He said, I am the truth. I am the way, I am the truth, I'm the life. No one comes to God except through me. That means you don't get to God through being a Muslim. You don't get to God through being a Hindu. You don't get to God through being a good Southern Baptist outside of Jesus Christ, outside of a saving soul transformation, a born-again experience with Jesus. The most common false religion in Georgia is not Hinduism, it's not Buddhism, it's not Islam. The number one false religion in Georgia is cultural Christianity. It's people who say, oh yeah, Jesus is my homeboy. Yeah, Jesus. They go out, get drunk, get high, get laid, rinse, repeat, get drunk, get high, get laid, get on OnlyFans, watch porn, live for self, be a narcissist, right? They're never changed. They live the same sinful lifestyle, and yet they profess to be followers of Jesus Christ. Don't let that be you. Jesus said, why do you call me? Why do you say to me, Lord, Lord? Why do you call yourself a Christian? Why do you say you're my follower and don't do the things that I command you? He said, on that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not do many mighty works in your name? Did we not cast out devils in your name? Did we not go listen to Pastor Bob at Wesley on Wednesday nights in your name? Did we not go on Wesley alternate spring break in your name? Did we not go to the Passion Conference in your name? He says, for many people like that, on that day, Jesus will say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you. Now, I'm not saying, be careful here, I'm not saying everybody in Wesley's a fake and going to hell. I didn't say that at all. I'm just saying there's a lot of fake cultural Christians in the Bible Belt. So here's how you can know. Do you obey his commandments? Don't call yourself a Christian if you're having sex outside of marriage. Don't call yourself a Christian if you're practicing homosexuality. Don't call yourself a Christian if you're a narcissist. Don't call yourself a Christian if you make a practice of drunkenness, pot smoking, and those sorts of things. Don't call yourself a Christian if you're perpetually covetous. Jesus said, by their fruits you will know them. We're not talking about sinless perfection. We're talking about the direction of your life. What are you living for above all else? What comes first in your life? Jesus said the first and the great commandment is you shall love the Lord your God, not you shall love Georgia football with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. You shall love the Lord your God, not you shall love your money, not you shall love your Instagram account. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and all of your strength. And then, on the heels of that, Jesus said the second great commandment is likened to it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Do you protect the unborn who are being murdered in abortion? That's one way to know whether you love your unborn neighbor.
I just have a question.
What's that?
Well, not even really a question, but just like a statement in general. As somebody who is very big in my faith and loves God, yes, I love the Lord, love hope, love it, whatever. I just wanted to say that doing this is more repelling than anything. If you really want to,
I disagree. I disagree.
No, but
That's not what Jesus said. So.
No.
I don't care about your opinion. If Jesus said go into all the world and preach the gospel, I'm gonna listen to him, not you. Not what Pastor Bob at Wesley thinks I should do. Right? You go to Wesley, I bet, don't you?
No, I don't actually. Listen. Yes. No, yes, and I totally agree. But I'm just. Can you listen to what I have to say? Because
what happened to Stephen when he preached the gospel in public? What'd they do?
guys, speak to you. I think.
That's an awful thing to stop somebody preaching the gospel.
No.
You must not love your neighbor.
I think that so much
Yeah, anybody can come up and talk to us. We're the most welcoming people in Athens right now. If you have a question about the Bible, about God, about the Christian faith, about science, about philosophy, come up and ask Dr.